Have that.
3 points, baby. Well, what a goal to gain 3 points for Wrexham that was. It was a fantastic strike from Luke Young as Wrexham beat Bromley 1-0, and Dean Keats finally gets his first league win on his second spell. But, well, it put us speechless. We were saying in commentary that, we're up front, we're not necessarily looking like we've got the exact personnel there to cause teams trouble, but we've just taken a well-deserved win against the top of the league.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it, Lee? It was really good, that. I'm appearing in honour of Halloween. I appear to be appearing as a ghost today. But while we chat about it, James, you've got a task here. You've got to get that picture of James Jennings' face and show everybody, because it's beautiful.
Live stream. So
yeah, absolutely.
The photographer, Rob, was at pitch side, and he got the goal. He's just sent it to me in a group chat. See if we can get it on here. I don't know if we can or not. Sorry, left to right is right to go. So there's the initial strike, and then the next. This is not going to be as quality footage as well, but if I can zoom into James Jennings' face, which I'm sure last time we were on here, Mark, we had a big James Jennings fan.
Getting
in touch with us.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Here's James Jennings' initial reaction.
Look at his face. Just look at his face.
That is a very shocked face. So, fantastic work down there on the sidelines. Yeah. And James Jennings again can become the subject of one of our live streams.
Yeah. It was a hell of a hit, wasn't it?
Certainly was. What a goal. I think that's the best goal I've ever seen live.
Yeah.
It really is.
It reminded me, do you remember, I think Paul Scholes did it for United when from a corner though, when it came across and he hit it volley. But
on the volley,
yeah. But the technique was, obviously it comes off sometimes, it doesn't come off. When it does come off, that's fantastic. I mean, Summerfield's hit a couple of great strikes this season and hit a goalkeeper in form, and, that could easily be shanked Clifton style for Bromley out of the stands. But
you're bullying that poor bloke, go on.
Well, he won the game for Wrexham, I think. He came on, he bulldozed a few people, and luckily his touches on a football just hacked it out of the pitch and gave Wrexham some respite. But yeah, it was a great finish from Luke Young.
You're saying about the Scholes volley. I mean, I think, ironically, that Young volley is more difficult because he's closer in. When you hit a volley from 25 yards, you've got scope to nail it and it'll dip down. Whereas from that close in, to really blast it, you're going to have to really middle it, or it's going to go over. So it was a fabulous goal.
I think, as Lee said in summary as well, people, players running in to close him as well. It was probably, I'd like to see it back. Hopefully the GoPro is working, because that's directly behind the goal, and that'd be a nice angle. But it was hopefully, I'm guessing it was a needle to a certain extent. It's one of those ones, if you didn't hit it perfectly, it wasn't going in for a change, because there was players running in. The goalkeeper's obviously going to be on the sighting, but he's not going to get to that with the power he hits it.
It was just a hell of a strike. You say about the Scholes one, but am I right in saying that was from a corner, that one, when it come out to the edge box?
To him.
This is one where Luke Young's he's not knowing it's coming, and it just fell for him, and it's one where the defenders have run at him and he's hit it. And it's so many times you see someone that hits it like that and it takes a deflection, and that's what takes it past the keeper. Yeah. I'm almost certain it took no deflection. It was such a pure strike and went straight in. And it's just the way he got contact with it, and just the power behind it, and the way he controlled it into the top corner. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but volleys are often about body shape, aren't they? And if you're stretching for something, you don't get yourself quite right, you're going to miss hit it. Yep. And you could just see he was just shuffling back a bit, just to make sure that he was behind it, underneath it, and it wasn't going to come too high. And it was just beautiful technique, which, in a game where I would say, and I don't want to be critical of players from either side, there was a lot of misplaced passing, and I think that was because of the high quality pressing that both sides I thought were very good when they didn't have the ball, which forces players to make mistakes. And obviously the better technique you've got, your press teams in the Premier like that, and they can still pass through you. But National League teams can't, and that's why there were so many bad passes. So in a game like that, where maybe certain restrictions on technique were exposed, Luke Young did something that, saw it in the World Cup, you'd say, well, that's one of the highlights. Beautiful,
having spent my youth playing heads and volleys, I'm very impressed by that volley.
I was usually the goalie in those games.
The goalkeeper wasn't stopping that one. That was losing you 2 points.
I wouldn't have held this, but I would have saved it. Just saying.
pounced to your left-hand side and got that one.
I would have been so far out of position as he.
Well, Danny Dyer, our favourite fake Cockney, has been in touch. Happy days, well done the lads. Yeah, well done at all. And then he's put, do you want to see my face after the whistle went? Well, as long as it's not, as long as it's an acceptable image, of course. Yeah. But I'd imagine it was very similar to ours. Yeah. It was like a Cheshire cat.
Mm. He just put a comment there, and he's spot on as well, saying he's at Torquay Tuesday night because he lives in Plymouth. Should have won 3-1. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I felt really sorry to see the backlash after losing on Tuesday. I understood it. We dropped 3 points short of safety. But flaming hell, we played very well against the team in the playoffs. Bad finishing cost us. So like I said, it's good that we got the win there, and Young's our best player, and this season I think he has been.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't mean this disrespectfully into the players that are putting the red shirt on, because I think everyone that was out there today put a shift in. I don't think you can question that. But Bobby Grant has been asked to play as a target man. He's been asked to do what Michael Cheek does, who's a specialist in doing that. I think Bobby Grant's a great footballer, and he did admirably. I think he brought but he needs to play off a striker or as the wide man. You've got Ben Tollett and Rutherford, who battled hard on the wide areas. Ben Tollett had a better second half for me than he did first half when he came out of the gates. Rutherford looked to run at people and had a couple of decent shots as well, but we don't have, with Hooper there, Oswald's on the bench, and for whatever reason isn't getting a look in there. We don't have a recognised, if you like, striker on there, and that's a problem going forward, because we're going to have to rely on goals like that, and you're not going to get strikes like that every game, unfortunately, as much as it'd be great if we could. And we've got some players that could do that, but scoring goal, I like what I saw today. Defensively, the back line looks solid. Leighton has got that back four organised. Pearson coming back in as well, added some maturity to it. Horsfield, I hope he's all right. Went off with that injury, and stretch it off is never good to see a good player. Player stretch it off, because he was in our thoughts for man of the match as well. The midfield, Luke Young anchoring that midfield with Summerfield and Wright battled well. So defense, I think structurally we look a solid side. It's just we've got to score goals, haven't we? And that's going to get us the points, and that'll be the next task for Dean Keats. I'm sure he's more aware of it as the fans are.
Are we going to have to bring in new attacking players, do you think? Do you think the players are here to score the goals? Or?
I think Cooper's a goal scorer, but the worry is sort of his injuries that he's picked up this season. That's not the first one he's picked up last week. He's picked up a couple over the season. Oswald, he's not scored really many goals since he's come here, has he, into the club? So I think a goal scorer, once again, from the first time that Dean Keats was in the club, he was looking for a goal scorer then. He's going to be looking again now for one. Whether he can get one this sort of part of the season, I'm not too sure whether that would be something he'd be able to do. But, Bobby Grant, he just looked frustrated today in that sort of role. Like we were saying, it's not his position. It'd be nice to see him. I think you said it. It'd be nice to see him in his actual position. Do you know what I mean?
For me, Bobby Grant may have lost a yard of pace from the League One player that he potentially was, but he's still got a lot about him. He battles well for the ball. He's got a great passing range. He can score goals, as he proved this season. What I think we need to do is build. I think Lee Fowler, when we had him, is building his play around him. Is Grant, find what his position is and build a team around that player. Because I think if you utilise the talent he's obviously got, whether he's the number 10 in that diamond behind a two, he's not a striker. He's doing admirably, and he's scored a couple of goals there. But if we can get the right players on the pitch to complement him, I think there's an asset there for the club. But yeah, it's just finding that. You're right. Hooper is a big miss. Leighton was a big miss earlier season. Dibble tried and pulled off some great saves, but the confidence once he let a couple in wasn't quite there. And Leighton comes in and has that surety because of his experience.
If you're wondering what that big bang was in the background, it was club legend Wayne Phillips. No, don't apologise, Wayne. Wayne was celebrating the win by smashing some really expensive equipment against the press desk. Don't apologise.
Well, Wayne, as an ex-professional, particularly for this club, what was your thoughts on that goal?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The technique. The moment he leaves his right foot, his head into the top corner. It was a delight to be here to watch it. It's a goal I'm sure he'll enjoy, because I look forward to seeing it again. I'm sure he'll watch it over and over, and an important goal as well.
Yeah.
I thought Wrexham were very good. against a team who were top of the league. You could see in the early stages why they were top of the league. First 20-25 minutes, I thought they looked the part, but we grew into the game. I thought, that 10-15 minutes spell before half time, and then second half, and you just hope that once they've got the goal, can they hold on? There was a couple of scares in the end, but the goal alone, if it was Premier League, you'd see it over and over and over again, and they'd revel about it. So, delighted for Wrexham, Dean, Luke himself to get a goal like that. One who has myself produced a goal like that in my time, or two. Those type of things that you hit, and 9 times out of 10 they might have been elsewhere. But the times they end up in the back of the net, it's a great feeling. The celebration was great, and really good, really enjoyed it today. We'd all like to see 3 and 4-0 wins, but 1-0 is a good scoreline because you've had to work hard and grind a result out. We were always taught that by Flinney when he was manager here. When you win 1-0, it shows a sign of a good side. Because you've grounded out a result, and let's hope it's the start, eh? A long way to go.
Long way to go.
It's the start,
but
it wasn't as good as your goal on your debut against Brill. I'm obsessed by that goal, Wayne.
And I was a little bit further out.
You were.
45 yards.
Yeah, you were a hell of a lot further out.
It was a toe poker.
No. You were further out. You were wide as well. It was a remarkable goal.
Whether it's a 25-yard volley or a 2-yard tapping, they all mean the same.
Yeah.
But massive 3 points.
Yeah, massive 3 points, and a massive goal. Hopefully, can put some confidence into that dressing room and kick on. So. Kev H, one of the, I think he must be a bit of a happy clapper, or he's trying to be sarcastic, one of the two, celebrating tonight with a 6-pack of turnips. Well, we all are. Let's look for the quarter-final at Rangers. And that coveted 12 paces finish is looking more realistic. I would take 12th place at the moment and rebuild again, so I'm quite happy with that. But as someone else just points, Jared 1993, it's insane to say, but there are only 12 points between us and the playoffs. We can but dream, but... yeah, it's a long season. Let's not get. We said in commentary, one swallow doesn't make a summer, unfortunately. But it's great to get 3 points. It's great to get some confidence in the squad and some belief. And why not do it against the league leaders? As Wayne just said, they looked a decent team at times, but so did we. There's certainly not a big gap there between top and 22nd as we started the day.
I mean, Torquay to put our performance on Tuesday, as Danny Dyer was rightly saying, we played well on Tuesday. They've won 4-2 at Halifax today. That shows that we did well there, but also I think illustrates what we were saying in commentary. It's quite an even league. The teams up near the top don't look like that particularly there's any of them that are really strong. The teams on the bottom maybe aren't awful. I don't know about... I'm very wary of getting over-optimistic about where we can finish because we need to get ourselves safe first, and that's that. And I think we can't relax until we've really achieved that. But I would say that when Keats came here last time, and he inherited a dreadful squad, there was a point where we got up to within about 5 points of the playoffs. And remarkable as it seems, we then dipped back down, and that was in the playoffs. No, sorry, I beg your pardon. To get within about 5 points of the top 8, well, that's roughly where these new playoffs are. Any team that gets a good run together is in with a shot. I'm not saying we could do that, and frankly, I think we'll have to get some very good recruitment in to do that. But, it's an odd league, this.
It's an odd league. If that's the top of the table team, and I think we've played Barrow as well, Halifax, so not looked outclassed by any of those three. It's fine margins. Don't get me wrong. There's been some poor football. There's been some poor decisions, and I'm not going to go down to the what ifs and maybes, but there could have been the odd late goal that we've conceded or a lead we've thrown away and not quite scored when we should have done. And the points could be a lot different. We are where we are. We have to rebuild from that point, and today's a good start with that 3 points, and we can only look forward to the next 26 games in the league to really find out where we are.
Well, I'm just looking at the league table, actually, and I'm thinking, well, okay, we've just beaten Bromley, they're top. We beat Halifax, who were third. We beat Barrow, who were fourth. Fifth, Torquay, should have beaten them. Sixth, Harrogate, should have beaten them. Missed a penalty when we were 1-0 up, and they weren't threatening us. Notts County, we've drawn away to them. So you look at that, and you think, Woking's eighth, and we drew away to them. You look at those games and you're thinking, okay, we do rather well against the top teams, but I think it maybe just indicates how even the league is, because this is a scary part. You look down the bottom end of the league, the 9 teams above us, we've dropped points against all of them. We lost at Files, we lost at Aldershot, we we lost at home to Chesterfield, beg your pardon. We lost at home to Stockport. So 4 teams above us we've lost to. Maidenhead, we threw it away. We should have won that game. Boreham Wood, we threw it away. We were 2-0 up. Dagenham, I mean, that was an odd sort of game. Before both their goals, we had our best spells and should have scored during them, and then I think we'd have won that game. Hartlepool, we were terrible. We lost. Dover, we lost. I think about myself. The league's even. We're doing the same things against everybody. We're sort of competitive, but not taking advantage of good spells. I don't know. It's an odd sort of league, so you can't guarantee anything.
No, you look at the team that came here today in Bromley, and they started the day in first place. I don't know whether they're still at first place after today's result, but anyone looking in from the outside who doesn't know anything about National League standings, you wouldn't say, well, they're top and they're 22nd at all. And it's that, there isn't much of a difference of quality in there. I think, first of all, you have got to concentrate on where we are before we start looking anywhere else. We can't afford to be in the places that we are. But you look at the squad we've got, and I'm still adamant that I think we have got a quality team there. I think we are 2, 3, maybe 4 players off a team that should be up there. It's just finding that sort of right, I don't know, the right tactics maybe to suit, don't get that confidence back up. And, I'm not too worried about going down, but I think we've got to concentrate on that first. And with Dean Keats, we said it before, Tuesday, Saturday with the games, he's now got a full week to work on it, and there have been improvements already. So to go on that training pitch for a week now and work on it, I'm feeling more promising I am now than I have been the last few games, at least.
I think while there's the basis of a good side here, I don't think it's a coincidence. We've just had 2 massively improved performances because Keats has essentially picked the players who were here already before the summer and Horsfield. And I don't think that's a coincidence. In this game, Tollitt is the only one he was here last season. The summer signings aren't showing. And I think that the basis of that team was what Keats put together and then stayed, and then a couple more like Young and Summerfield. Yeah. But this summer was as I've said this before, a bit of a wasted opportunity, I think, where maybe we could have picked, if we'd brought in 2 or 3 good quality players, I think that was what we needed, because we were already in the playoffs, and instead we bought 6 or 7 players who haven't succeeded and used up the budget, and that's a problem for Keats. But by falling back on those experienced ones and falling back on the ones he knows he can trust, I think he suddenly look compact and strong again.
I agree to a certain extent, but I think it's difficult to completely judge that. I think you've got some players that we've taken a punt on, as in we've got rid of players like Chris Holroyd, so we needed a striker, and they've brought in Leighton McIntosh, for instance. But I think Hooper scored 16, 17 goals for Bromley in the second half of last season. I think that's an investment in a player. Yes, we haven't quite seen it, but I can understand the structure behind the thinking behind that. Devontae Redmond came to the Salford side, made a big impact into that promotion push for them, and it's not worked for him so far. So I think some players on theory, paper is a great way to play football, isn't it? Sometimes, and they haven't worked out. But I agree that perhaps Keats has certainly got a battle with a budget that I'd imagine all managers use their budget. You're not going to leave it in the dry. So just a couple of more points. Ryan Price, did you notice any arguments going on in the stands? Opinions? I didn't notice anything, because from our point of view, where we can see and where we can actually see, I heard a couple of whisperings over in the Mould Road, but for me, it was very short. And as soon as that goal goes in, the fans got behind the team and got behind the club, as they should do. Really, for me, I think a few results, and there's positive vibes. I do get that fans are frustrated. We're frustrated at times. And I do think it's right that different fans have different opinions, because we're a fans-owned club. And that's right that people have opinions and should voice them correctly. And I think there's always an opportunity for people to step up and be involved and bring fresh ideas to the table, as long as it's for the greater good and everything. There's lots of good work that goes on. There's lots of things that perhaps aren't quite right, or mistakes have been made and frustrations sometimes. But I think we need solidarity behind the boys on the pitch, and it shows when the crowd got behind the team today, how we pushed on in that last 20 minutes. And I want points on the table, and That's what I want first. I want us to. No, I don't want to be thinking about going down National League at all. So that's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I'm on record as saying I didn't like the way that people turned against players, board members, managers in the past. That Sutton game was horrible, and that's not to say that people can't criticise. They can criticise and should express, but I think there's reasonable criticism and there's vitriol. So I'm on record as having said that. Anyway, the thing is that what really scares me, and my bottom line is fan-owned club. That model is the right one for us because it means we can't be owned by someone dubious. We're going to put out the podcast of what we talked about at half times. We talked about that. And the fact is that this notion of an investor is a false notion. It's specious logic. Where is this investor who just wants to plough money into our football club? That person doesn't exist. I've been watching this since the 70s. People keep saying about this. There used to be this mystery Canadian millionaire who supposedly he was from Wrexham and he was going to come back and put the money in. I mean, it's just nonsense. There's very few sugar daddies out there. That people want this club. If they want to buy this club, it's so they can make money out of it. How do you make money out of us? Because we're not in the Premier League. We haven't got a big TV deal. You make money out of us by selling our assets and leaving us in the lurch. So it really worries me when people are trying to bring up the notion of not being a fan-owned team, and I don't like it when there's this reckless idea of there'll be all this investment coming in. There won't be. There's no reason to invest in this club unless you want to get your hands on its assets. So, I think we need to forget about that and just look at how we can find a consensus of how we run ourselves as a fan-owned club.
Okay, I think we've covered that on our opinions as far as we need to. Nathan Jones, very delighted with the 3 points the boys dug in deep. Thankfully dragged out a remarkable 1-0. Well, yeah, it was remarkable, but I think deserved as well. Needs to go in there. It's one we weren't expecting. It's one, you came along as one of the 3,500 hardy souls. There weren't many that, unless you're a complete optimist, all the time that we're expecting a win today. But I think the performance, Lee, did sort of, I think we over the 90 minutes, that yes, they probably had a few more chances than us in terms of putting it across the goal face, but otherwise I thought we deserved what we got.
I thought we deserved it. I thought we grew into the game and got better as it went on, and in the second half we kicked on again. Tollett looked good. He looked much better in the second half for the time he got rather than the first half. I think one of the crucial moments of this game was, I think we maybe forget it now because of the Luke Young goal, but that Leighton save in the first half was absolutely fantastic. And if he lets that in, then it's a strange game. It's a completely different game. But when you watch the highlights tonight or tomorrow, it'll be, don't just watch it for the goal. Look at that save as well, because it was a quality save.
That was as good as Young's goal, I would argue. Brilliant save.
We dropped goals earlier in the season by conceding goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. Yeah, I think we saw when Mark went through the results, Boreham Wood is certainly one of those. There's a couple of others we got late goals in, and those draws turned into, those wins turned into draws and stuff.
And Jared's right as well in terms of here today we managed to not let that happen, and sometimes when you lose your confidence, I think this sort of thing can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, can't it? Where because you're letting in goals, you're nervous, you're going to let in goals, so you're letting more goals. And we dug in today. We rode a look a little bit at the end with that header, went back across the face of goal. Goodness me, that was close. But we dug in, we got the clean sheet, and that's really, really promising, isn't it?
11 man working together, and Adrian Clifton helping us by not being a footballer.
You really are picking on him. He's half decent, he is.
Oh, he was shocking. Bulldozer of a play. Anyway, thank you for putting it out of touch and letting us take the pressure off. Danny Dyer sums up what I think. I think we all do this. I think after today, the fans will get behind the lads. My dad goes every home game. When they lose, he says he's not going again, but he goes because he can't stop. And I think that sums up football. It sums up fans. It's completely accurate. My dad does exactly the same. He sits over in the Mould Road opposite me, and I'll get home, and on the way home, having tidied up and done whatever, and I'll have the phone call moaning, I'm not going again, it was awful, or vice versa today. So I'm not actually looking forward to that phone call. But yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's we're fans for a reason. You want the wins, you want the best performances, but you keep coming back because you love the club, and that's football. That's any sport. That's any sort of it's the passion that brings you back, isn't it?
I love that comment. I think it sums up being a football fan, doesn't it? What Danny said there. I can't see calling you Danny Dyer now. I'm assuming you are You are Danny Dyer. We know you're Danny Dyer.
Yeah.
I just love that. My lad, when you said about the goal and you said, I just want to tell your kids about it. Like, I don't have to tell my lad about it because he was behind the goal. He'd have seen it better than I did. But yeah, when we lose, he'll be livid and he'll be lobbing stuff out the window or whatever. He doesn't really, sorry. But he's furious.
Yeah.
He's back the next match, though.
I think I said in
football.
First half commentary, I said it's not been wanted to write home and tell your kids about this first half, but then that goal was. So, yeah, so
you also said we should tell the parents. Well, my dad was listening. So,
well, there you go.
You told me dad.
Solihull was upsetting. It was also cold. It was very cold and wet. But yeah, it was.
Well, Evan's right saying we should have won that. We could easily. When it went to 2-1, we were right in that game.
That goal we scored was great.
And it's we talk about goal of the season. Obviously, this will win goal of the season there. But I'd go for the Bobby Grant goal at Solihull. Actually, it was a wonderful move. Remember the 2nd of November.
Yeah,
well done.
Gunpowder, treason, and 3 points. It's not the ball's fault. The fans should have opinions off the game. We need the fans with us, not against the boys. Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's a whole
different. This is not how you host a chat show.
It's a whole
James.
different. I'm just
muttering.
I'm reading. Obviously, I've got to be careful what I read sometimes. Yeah, I think the board thing we've covered. I think people do a lot of hard work, and I can understand the frustrations and things like that. We've covered it, but it's a difficult one. How many Rochdale fans are we expecting next Sunday? Well, I'm assuming they're expecting a few because I think from what they're saying is their ticket sales have been quite good. So hopefully, obviously we're on the red button with it being a Sunday as well, so a bit of extra money in the club's pocket. Be nice to get through to the second round. Raquel Pike, I assume, will be returning for Rochdale.
That's true.
So watch out for them back heels. You never know when it's a bit of TV coverage lately. They might sometimes put an extra bit of performance on.
Well, Raquel Pike or us?
Or hopefully us.
Hopefully us, yeah. No, hopefully, it'll be a tough challenge. I'm sure they'll be wanting to get where every team in the FA Cup wants to get to, that third round and play a big game. But, it's a chance for us to take a break from the league and try and see how far we can go in that competition. It's a great competition, and I'd love to see us win and us get to that third round.
I'd love to see us win the FA Cup as well. I don't think it's probably not going to happen. Chesterfield a few years ago was probably our closest, but we never know.
Don't talk about that.
Yeah, but no. Oh well.
That's one of the most painful commentaries I've ever did, where you could just see we weren't going to score, and I had to keep going. It was hard work, that.
But no, you're right. I think if you can get into that third round, and you pull that big boy team, then it's a lot of budget. You were talking about Keats.
You're going to pull the big boys, are you, James?
Well, pull the big boys. It's been said before. No, but you're talking about spending the budget. An FA Cup run, yes, it's a distraction, same as the. But if we get through this next round with the TV money, we do get a decent draw, and then you get to that third round and you pull a Man United, a Liverpool, who obviously fairly well followed locally as well, or even a Chelsea, someone that's going to bring a lot of fans. Then that's a lot of money, and you look at what Lincoln did with it, look what Newport County did with it. Spending that money on that. Sutton, for instance, they invested when they had a good run, and it helps, and every penny counts.
Absolutely. Good question from Jared there.
Yeah, if we do guarantee safety in the league, what position would you take us finishing, and where do you think we'll really realistically finish this season, given how it has gone so far? So, 26 games to go.
We've won it, haven't we? We've won it.
78 points.
We have won it. Yeah.
We can get to 98.
97, I think.
Oh, 97 is it? Oh,
97 points, I don't like that number.
Yeah, 97.
Done that before, haven't we?
Yeah. So, look, realistically, I think we're strong enough, and I think it will guide us to safety. It's not going to probably be the most entertaining of league seasons, if I'm honest. I think it's going to be very much like the Gary Mills second season where Dean took over. I don't think it's going to be as tight as that. I think there's a better quality in the squad, and I think he can address some bits and bobs. But I think Dean hopefully wants to prove long term this time, and rebuild that team in his image and finish the unfinished business that he says he wants to have.
I think it's two separate questions, isn't it? can we survive first? Can we pull away from it? And then, once that's achieved, what would we accept?
I think we'll survive. I really do. With Dean Keats coming in now and the improvements he's already made, I do think we'll survive. I don't think we'll get to the playoffs. If I'm really honest, I don't think that's what we should be looking at. Concentrate on this. I think it'll be a mid-table finish. I think you say it was like Dean Keats' first season here, where it would just be a mid-table finish. But he's got the contract not just for this season, but for next season as well. And I think that's something that, let's get safe, and then he'll start thinking about that and looking at that season as being the one.
I will throw a caveat into this. We are talking about the National League. Now, if anything's possible, you can go on a run of 10 games, win 10 games, which is possible in this league, and every team beats everyone. There's no standout team again. It's been a poor league last couple of seasons, really, with no absolute giant running with it. You never know. But I think, realistically, we're going to be mid-table. But if we do get to playoffs, we could be that team that always gets there at the end and flies through the playoffs. But
everyone says that, but that never happens, does it?
It never happens, no. But that's the fan side of me that comes back when they get the good result. Like Danny Dyer said, you remain hopeful. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. You have to. I think anything can happen in football, but it's probably going to be a mid-table finish. I
think I'm a cautious, because I can't get beyond the first part of the question in a way. I just think, right, let's make ourselves safe, and then we'll think about that. Although, actually, I will say that as well, I personally, I don't tend to think of that sort of thing in terms of targets. I think it's more the old-fashioned traditional football thing of, if we do feel we're safe, it's then taking every game as it comes and trying to improve gradually. I know it's a cliche, but I think that's what I would go for, really.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? You say if we got ourselves safe and there's 10, 15 games to go, that's a different question. But then also you can get to the complacency bit and sort of, as we did in that first Dean Keats season, we got to within the playoffs, and then we sort of just
we slid back and we had to win at York, or we could have got in real trouble, couldn't we? Danny Dyer saying Keats should play simple 4-4-2, make them earn their wages. I like that. We'd need 2 strikers for that, don't
Danny, you need to join me and Mark on a half-time talk when we actually finally get a chance, because we've had some great Ask Wrexham questions. Yeah. We will have the debate of modern football versus old football, and I'm very much in the old football 4-4-2, keep it simple camp. But we're not going to go into that today, because that could be another 2 hours on this podcast.
We had planned out that if we didn't get asked some questions, this was it. We talked about it at the end of after our last live stream that we did together. We said we're going to do a half-time, just duke it out, modern football against old-fashioned football, and just have a battle. So we didn't do that because they were good Ask Wrexham questions. Yeah. But you were going to be the referee.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this has got to happen. We've got to have the clash of the Titans over this. In terms of 4-4-2, I mean, there were points when we played the Diamonds where I was hankering for it. I agree, because we were conceding much too much space on the flanks. But I think the 4-3-3 actually is working pretty well at the moment, and we look compact the last 2 games.
I don't think we've got the personnel for 4-4-2. We don't have a natural stay wide winger. I think you don't have to have 2 necessary for 4-4-2. But you've got to have 1 that stays there. And I think the squad is suited more to this 4-3-3 stroke, the 4-1-2-1-2 diamond. As it stands. But that's recruitment. And Jared's just rescued me from telling you the score was 1-0. Although, where have you been if you've not seen it? Because it was a great result. But on that bombshell of 1-0 victory against the league lead.
Wrexham won.
Wrexham won. All is well in the world. I'm sure now Stoptober is over and Bootlegger's back on the Pilsner. There'll be lots of Wrexham fans enjoying a Pilsner in town tonight, celebrating 3 points. And with that, we'll leave the podcast there and let go and enjoy your Saturday evening. They've been Lee Milford, Mark Griffiths, and James Harrison's.
Fight!
And Harry Hillstyle, perhaps one day you will see that fight.
Do you like the lining?
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Adios, muchachos.